The story of the Tower of Babel is explained in chapter 11 of Genesis in just a few verses. This is a summary of the biblical account of the Tower of Babel. The descendants of Noah lived in the area of Mesopotamia in Babylon. They settled in a land named Shinar. The population was growing, and they all spoke one language. The people decided to build a tall, proud symbol of how great they had made their nation. The Babylonians wanted a tower that would reach to the heavens so they could be like God and would not need him. They began to construct a great ziggurat. God did not like the pride and arrogance in the hearts of the people. God caused the people to suddenly speak different languages so they could not communicate and work together to build the tower. This caused the people to scatter across the land. The tower was named the Tower of Babel because the word Babel means confusion. This story is a powerful reminder of how important it is to obey God's word and not think we can build a successful but godless life on our own. As Nimrod began his reign, he and his followers had one overriding goal for their new territory. They wanted to ensure the security of their community by building a prestigious landmark to make a name for themselves. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Genesis 11:4. The structure, a tower made from man-made building materials, would be a symbol of their power and self-sufficiency. And some historians believe that Nimrod had an additional motive for wanting to build the Tower of Babel. In what was the sin that condemned the Tower of Babel? The ancient historian Josephus states of Nimrod, he also said he would be revenged on God if he should have a mind to drown the world again. For that, he would build a tower too high for the waters to be able to reach, and that he would avenge himself on God for destroying their forefathers. God saw that the people were working together toward a common goal, but unfortunately, the goal they were working toward was steeped in arrogance and in direct opposition to God's command to multiply and fill the earth. In their attempt to maintain unity and create a name for themselves, God's people rebelled against God's sovereign authority and embraced their own self-sufficiency. They felt they didn't need God to rule over them. They could rule themselves and reach the heavens on their own terms, with their own hands, by their own means. God's justice and His grace could not allow this treachery to continue. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Genesis 11:8-9. There has been much difference of opinion as to the geographical position of the Tower of Babel. Following the tradition handed down by the Jews and Arabs, most writers upon the subject have identified it with the great temple of Nebo in the city of Borsippa, now called the Burj Nimrod or Tower of Nimrod. This building, however, notwithstanding its importance, was to all appearance never regarded by the Babylonians as the Tower of Babel, for the very good reason that it was not situated in Babylon, but in Borsippa, which, though called, in later times, the second Babylon, was naturally not the original city of that name. The place where they built the tower was called Babylon, on account of the confusion of languages. Here we have again the statement as in that the meaning of Babel is confusion. The city's building would have been stopped when the confusion of tongues took place is natural. The departure of the greater part of the inhabitants made this inevitable. When the population increased again, the city's building continued, making Babylon the greatest city in the then known world. The tower, despite what had been said about its destruction, remained. When its condition became ruinous from time to time, some energetic Babylonian king would restore it. Alexander and Philip of Macedon began clearing away the rubbish to rebuild the great temple connected with it. There is hardly any doubt that the tower would have been restored likewise, but the untimely death of the former and the deficient mental caliber of the latter for ruling a great empire put an end to the work. The tower, therefore, remained unrepaired. The tower was exceedingly tall. The third part of it sank into the ground. A second third was burned down, and the remaining third was standing until the time of the destruction of Babylon. Tucked away in the book of Genesis is the story of a massive structure most Christians identify as the Tower of Babel. The scriptural account explaining why God's people built this tower is a short and poignant. Rebellious and prideful mankind wanted to do their own thing. God intervened to stop them, and all the world's diverse languages can be traced back to the fallout from that fateful event. By contrast, having unity of purpose in worldly matters ultimately can be destructive. In God's viewpoint, division in worldly matters is sometimes preferred over great feats of idolatry and apostasy. For this reason, God at times intervenes with a divisive hand in human affairs. To prevent further arrogance, God confuses and divides people's plans so they don't overstep God's limits on them. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for our latest video updates.